The Clemson Tigers need a transfer portal quarterback this offseason for 2026.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and the #1 sports podcast network. And that is because of you, the everydayers who stick with us Monday through Friday, every single week. And if you're not an everydayer, well, what are you waiting for? Hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, so you never miss another episode of Locked On Clemson or any other show that you love out there, because Locked On has a ton of them that you can choose from. Got an exciting show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. At the end of the show, we're going to talk about Clemson's recruiting model and the fact that there's some problems with it. In the middle of the show, we're going to talk about the staff changes and do a little bit of a mailbag session from my last episode. But we're going to start everything up with the big topic that I think everybody has been debating, and that is, will Clemson add a transfer portal quarterback? Should they add a transfer portal quarterback? And I'm going to tell you my position on it is that they should and that they will. But do I believe that they will? You know, we'll have to see. I'll be shocked. I will be probably shocked, but they should. So it shouldn't be a question if they should or not, but will they really? Cade Klubnik is gone, so there's leaving a void there. Now, he frustrated you in many ways. At times, he would make some electrifying, amazing throws that you're like, nobody else can make that throw. But in many other times, you're like, what is he doing right now? Why isn't he looking at the field? Why isn't he evaluating the defense? Why did he just pick that one guy? Why did he hand it off? Nobody told him to do that. After the game, you'd hear from the coaching staff saying he went rogue, and he did that many times this last season and the year before. But the Cade Klubnik situation is done. I mean, he may play in the bowl game, but for 2026, Cade Klubnik is gone. And it's a huge relief for me. And I know, I'm sure, a huge relief for many of you. He ends up being one of the top all-time quarterbacks for Clemson, but still very much far behind the best all-time quarterbacks at Clemson. Some of that he benefits from just being in a pass-heavy offense. Some of that he benefits from being in a modern era. I don't think many people would ask for Cade Klubnik back again. I mentioned this on the radio. I said, I don't think I'd want Cade Klubnik back again. But many people said, well, you would want him back again if your only option is Christopher Vizzina. Well, I guess that may be true. Christopher Vizzina has a talented arm. He's got a big frame. He has some wheels on him, although nobody really respects it. But no true experience that kind of jumps off the page at you. And the leadership style of him, I'm not really sure, but the vibe I'm getting right now is he's more of a quiet confidence guy. And I don't know how that's going to really work out well with this team. Cade Klubnik was not the quiet confidence guy. He was more of what I would say, the cheesy confidence guy. And so that also kind of felt a little bit not authentic when he started to really kind of rah everybody up because of his cheesiness. So Cade's gone, though. Christopher Vizzina would be next up in Dabo Swinney's mind, I believe. Chris Denson would be one of those guys that everybody wants to see, but he has raw talent. The funny thing is, you see Christopher Vizzina, he has a better arm. We've seen that than Denson, at least so far. We've seen all of Christopher Vizzina's arm. We have seen all of Chris Denson's legs. You wish you could put them together. If you ask Dabo, he's probably going to say, well, don't forget about Tate Reynolds. He's a developmental guy. He's going to be a true freshman. To me, over the years, I think Dabo's already proved to us that a true freshman's not going to get much of a shake, at least at first. They're going to have to be someone like a Sammy Watkins to get much of a real shake in a Dabo Swinney-led team, whether that be a good thing or a bad thing. The freshmen seem like they have to prove themselves and gain trust much more than even the seniors who keep making mistakes. I don't really understand that a lot of times, but that is where we're at. The quarterback room, as we list those three, the reality is there's no proven starter in there, not one, and there's no one on that room that you really feel good about going against Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge. So could Christopher Vizzina get better? Well, we thought Cade Klubnik could get better. Could Chris Denson jump out and surprise us? I still feel as if he is what he is, and that is a very athletic runner. There's a reason why we haven't seen certain things. And I do believe the coaching staff does really well at shielding us from some of the flaws. Could Reynolds develop into a solid leader of the team day one? To me, that's even more distant than the other two. So what should Clemson do? Well, when you go on to the transfer portal market and you look at who is available, the one guy that I'm liking so far, and he's not yet out there, he's still more on the listed of expected, but that would be Sam Leavitt. 6'2", 195, 200 pounds. He is a true guy, although he's been injured this past season, didn't do as well this season statistically because he was out 5.5 games. To me, he would be better than Cade Klubnik. So if you want to instantly upgrade your quarterback position, he's got to be number one on my list. I mean, he might cost you $2 million, but Cade Klubnik costs you $2 million. So why not pay for that? Why not pay for somebody that's better than Cade? Get somebody better than Cade that you know for sure is better than Cade, healthy. Well, then you know there's no question he's better than Vizzina or Denson or Reynolds. Do you lose Vizzina? Probably, if that happens. Maybe you have to bring in another quarterback in some way. But you have to keep improving each position group and recruiting for replacement, right? Not recruiting just for when they're graduated, not recruiting just for when they go to the NFL, not recruiting once they're, 4 years down the road and they've got their shot. No, it's not that. It's recruiting for replacement, transfer portal for replacement. Now, I don't think Dabo has really done that as well, in the most recent year, just because he hasn't used a transfer portal for that process. Now, he still uses it to fill gaps, as he says. But I believe in the quarterback position, while he may not see a gap because he's got 3 guys that he wants to see play, to me, I don't want to see any of those 3 guys play. I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize, but I just said I'm sorry. But to me, I think you got to go out and spend the money and get the quarterback. The reason why I've been so tempered on that statement is that I just don't see that the staff doing that. I don't see Dabo really wanting or being interested in doing that. It's more of a fan statement. It's more of a talking head statement than it is something I believe is actually true. But it'd be great if you could get somebody that statistically or at least on film is better than Cade Klubnik, which Leavitt is definitely better than Cade Klubnik. Why not? Because you definitely know you have your next starting quarterback out there. That brings us to segment 2, and we're going to talk about what some of you are talking about in the comments. in what I would say is the mailbag segment here on Locked On Clemson. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, the defense tightens up, the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet the next touchdown scorers, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. I'm liking Bijan Robinson for Thursday night. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Clemson with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonclemson.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, segment 2 here on Locked On Clemson. Thank you for sticking with me. The mailbag or the comments section has been big on who goes, who stays, and what are the realistic choices for staff moving forward. And I can understand where people are coming from. They want to see a lot of changes. They want staff changes. Some fans want Mickey Conn gone. Some fans want CJ Spiller gone. And a few actually still bring up Tyler Grisham. There's just a little bit of nervousness. Maybe it's caused by me and my show, or anxiety also maybe be caused by me and my show, but about the state of the position groups for Clemson. And the reality is I want to give you my honest opinion of each of those names and why or why not they should stay or go. First up, Mickey Conn. Now, I can understand he is a guy who's known Dabo Swinney for many years. They go back all the way to their college days. Mickey Conn has had a lot of success at the high school ranks. He's had a lot of success at the college ranks. A lot of players have moved on from his ranks, but there's been a lot that he's moved into the NFL ranks. And it all kind of got started back up after Khalil Barnes. But to me, it kind of all circles around has the recruiting been for Mickey Conn? If Dabo believes that people are coming because of him or Mickey Conn, that's where one I would start to wonder. Another thing is Mickey Conn able to coach at the highest level possible under Tom Allen's type of defense? We're starting to see late last season that it wasn't really working out as great as you'd like. And also, as with CJ Spiller, he had to replenish his team with a converted wide receiver to defensive back or safety. And he's having to use, he's not loading up his starters with top level guys. And so Mickey Conn's secondary has really been struggling the past couple of years. Now, even though Ricardo Jones had a lot of interceptions this year and it's been a bright spot, the group as a whole has kind of struggled. And so I can understand where fans are coming from. Now, has he been recruiting very well? He's brought in a few that I think are some good names, some household names that you would remember that go into the NFL. But it's been very kind of up and down, right? I don't believe that he is the cause of the secondary problems at all. So if it were me, I don't put a ton of blame on him at all. If he can fit within Tom Allen's system, I believe that he is a trustworthy coach that can stay in that position and can, as long as he can continue to recruit and he can fit in Tom Allen's system, then I say keep him around. I know you'd hate me to say that, but I don't feel as if that's been the biggest problem. To me, I've always put it on X's and O's or put it on players, right? I didn't really like the 4-2-5 from Tom Allen. I complained about it all season. I didn't think it fit the personnel they had. So while it made the secondary look worse, the secondary looked worse in a lot of ways because they had no pressure up front at all. Now, the secondary still has some guys that you like Ricardo Jones, like Khalil Barnes at times. Ronan Hannafin started out the season very strong as well. But there were definitely some weaknesses all around. And the depth there, those guys that you continued to recruit, you brought in over and over, and they just weren't working out. I'll talk about it in segment 3, but Clemson's been having a recruiting problem with what you're seeing in depth. These guys that are backups, I mean, mid-season, what did they say to us? They said they really had no rotation at all. Tom Allen was very frustrated with the fact they had no rotation at all. So I don't put a lot of that on development. I know a lot of fans do. Where I put it on is recruitment. And so the guys that are in those backup positions at the safety position really aren't guys that you feel can compete at the college level. And so that's where Clemson is getting stuck. Same thing for CJ Spiller that a lot of people mentioned is he's a legend, but he can't rotate because he has no depth. And that's where the problems in lie for me. Kylan Griffin, if you go back to the safeties, Kylan Griffin, Tyler Venables, those guys you don't really want to use a ton. Rob Billings, never really seen him a ton at all. Ronan Hannafin, again, you liked him at first, but then he got worse as the season went on. They had to kind of move Khalil Barnes back and find someone else to play in the nickel position. My son Kelly did it. Corin Gibson did it. When Shelton Lewis kind of stepped out, I mean, they promoted Shelton Lewis so much during the fall and then barely ever used him when the game started. And maybe it was his own fault for not being good during game time, but how did you not find that in the fall? I don't get it. So Clemson's got to do better with their evaluations of the roster they have in the offseason. It's because what we saw at the beginning of this season was not a well put together team based on what they were trying to do. They got better as the season went on, but it took many, many months of figuring it out. At this level, you got to figure it out much quicker than that. Is Mickey Conn part of that problem? Has he been making a pattern of it? Well, I don't like a lot of the backups that he has on the team because you just don't ever get to see them and they really can't contribute to the team. So, for example, Noah Dixon, too. Another guy you barely ever see and don't think he's going to get much of an opportunity. So Mickey Conn, to me, is someone who is getting one or two here and there, but not consistently enough. And couple that with the fact that Dabo's not going into the portal for these replacements or for better players, then it just makes those position coaches look even worse. Same thing for CJ Spiller. I mean, they didn't go to the portal for a running back knowing that they really needed one. And they basically, it was a happy accident that Adam Randall ended up being very good at just being a freak athlete. They should have figured that out. Again, it kind of goes back to what are they seeing in film? What are they seeing in the offseason that they waited all these years for Adam Randall to do this? Was it Adam Randall's fault or was it Dabo's fault? You never used him really at wide receiver. It took till you became a graduate to even get an opportunity somewhere else. And he did well there. So why aren't you trying these things? Why aren't you experimenting in these ways in the offseason? Why did it take so long to do that? And refusal of recruiting or recruiting under the standard got to a point where you had to then take a converted wide receiver and put him in a starting position. So for me, Mickey Conn might be the end for a lot of people. CJ Spiller might be the end for a lot of people. I could see where you could keep them both. It wouldn't make a lot of the fans happy. I believe CJ Spiller's issue is very complicated because he's a Hall of Fame player and he's a Hall of Fame, college football Hall of Famer and a Clemson Hall of Famer. He's loved by everybody. He's well respected and he's extremely loyal. but the running back room is not rotated at all. I don't knock him for development. I believe it's more about out recruiting instead of development. So you're either a good player or you're not, or I need to go find a better player. That's what I believe. And the evaluation has been a concern too, because the only guy you went after was David Eziomume, and you're not even using him at all. Gideon Davidson supposedly came to Clemson because of Dabo, not because of CJ. But Keith Adams Jr. is now out. Adam Randall's now gone. So you really have nobody but Gideon Davidson. Are you going to stick around and keep Eziomume right behind him? Or are we going to go into 2026 using just Gideon Davidson for 12 games? Because I can tell you how that's going to work out. You use one player for 12 games, and by the 8th game, he's not going to be able to go anymore. And it's going to be just like Phil Maffa all over again. Overused and hurt. Keith Adams Jr. never played. The other young guys you don't ever see. It's just one or two guys. So that's where my biggest concern with CJ is rotational. I can't compare that as much with Mickey Conn. To me, Mickey Conn's problem is he didn't even rotate because he couldn't, because those guys in the back were just no good. They're just cannot play at the level that they need. But I could, on Mickey Conn's state, I could say, hey, you're not getting any transfer portal quarter or safeties for me when you should need some. CJ, on the other hand, he has, I believe, more than one running back and hadn't used them and hadn't recruited for them. But it's still a transfer portal problem as well. I don't want to get too far into my segment 3, and then the final guy is Tyler Grisham. Tyler Grisham, I think he's got to stay. He's been recruiting extremely well. He's bringing in more speed this season. He's brought in length and playmakers last season. And that consistency and ability to see guys get into the NFL has to be rewarded. So Tyler Grisham's off the board for me. He's delivering. And so that's what I'll keep. All right, we're going to finish up the show, segment 3, talking about Clemson's recruiting model and is it still working in this new era of college football. Let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but they absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life. It just doesn't switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rugi It Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rugi It Ready is a next generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body, so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rugi It Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in one mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. The science behind Rugi It Ready stands out. 3 clinically proven ingredients in one formula designed for both mental and physical readiness. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, well, now's the time. Head over to rugiit.com/lockedoncollege. That's rugiet.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rugi It Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. This is the one big question I also see a lot too. So I guess I could say this is an extended mailbag segment, but the big question is Clemson's recruiting model still working in this new era? And honestly, it's a tough one as well. Just like the staffing changes, I don't think everything is all black and white, as a lot of fans want you to believe, because there's a lot of things at play. And there's a lot of things that you want to be consistent at. Same thing with your recruiting model. There's a lot of things you want to be consistent at. And it's not because the model hasn't worked in the past. What they've done has definitely worked in the past. And the way that they've provided offers was at one time a really important distinction between Clemson and other teams. Dabo Swinney is still working hard on the recruiting trail, but the recruiting model is starting to show some cracks, in my opinion. Not because Clemson can't evaluate talent either. They're kind of not getting that talent like they used to. Not because Clemson isn't a respected brand. It's definitely a respected brand. And they're still able to recruit outside of the state of South Carolina, outside of the Southeast. But they have to make some changes based on what the marketplace is telling you. Now, let me explain this. So for years, Clemson believed in offering extremely limited amount of players and offering, early to some of their best targets, some of the ones that they wanted the most and they desired the most. And then they waited patiently for those guys, not really dabbling in any sort of other options until they were forced to, until they got a response back from the other players that they had already offered. The goal was to protect the Clemson offer like it was gold. And guess what? I mean, that worked. It worked. Clemson was in the playoffs. They kept building and getting better players. It worked because guys like Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence picked Clemson. It worked because while there was money involved, it wasn't as right in the front door as Ed Orgeron said this week. It was a lot of backdoor money. And it wasn't as common as it is now. But the exchange of money has changed everything. Back then, Clemson's offer meant a lot. Clemson's offer still means a lot. But what's happening now is the plan isn't being seen as easily by the players that they're trying to get. They offer in batches, as you've noticed. They'll go out and send a big batch of offers at the beginning of the summer. And they may, just maybe, offer one or two in May, April, May, in the spring. If they truly believe that they're the best in the class or that they're extremely ready to commit to Clemson and no one else. But then they go out and they go into these batches, and the batches used to be a really big hit, but they're not working as well now, because if no one in that first summer batch doesn't commit and you don't get any kind of snowball effect, which Clemson hasn't, then you have to go to the next batch. And if that falls flat on its face, then you have to go to the next batch. Well, what happens is those players that are in batch 3 know they're in batch 3, and they're seeing that more clearly now. And so a lot of times they are waiting for that coveted offer, but a lot of times they also, I feel, are seeing that they're not the first choice, and it can look desperate. It can look reactive. To me, I wouldn't say as much desperate as I would say reactive. I think that what you have to do is expand your options out a little bit further. And I'm not saying go full SEC mode and offer 600 guys, because I don't want to report on 600 offers, by any means. I don't want 400. But if you're going to just offer 100 or 200, then maybe it's better to not, batch them out so obviously. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's how I feel about it right now. It seems as if when you're on the top of the world, that can start to work really well. But right now, there's a lot of negativity towards the fact that Clemson can get back to the top. And so there has to be at least an evaluation on, do you want to continue to do what you've been doing in the recruiting trail? And Dabo has made adjustments. Don't say he hasn't, because he used to not do anything in the summer. Now he does. So there have been some changes that he can continue to tweak and get better, and still make Clemson feel like an exclusive offer. But they do need to make it feel as if they're not being too exclusive and too reactive when certain players don't give them opportunities. We've seen it in the past where players have said, hey, I would like to be at Clemson, but they're telling me they're waiting on somebody else. And then, for example, the linebacker position, Tony Rojas at Penn State was openly saying that he wanted to be at Clemson. And then they went and took D. Creighton, and he is now no longer on the team, transferred out. They went and took Jamal Anderson, I believe, in the same class. He never really gets to play and can't even be trusted, to the point that they put him on a red shirt this year. But they talked up real big game about him in the offseason. You know, that's how it goes. So what Clemson needs to do is make sure that their methods are resonating with the players at this level that they want, the elite players. You know, it's been a few years since they've got a truly like mega star player at a key position of need, and they need to find another one to kind of continue to build around that person. And maybe it doesn't come from the high school ranks. Maybe it comes from the transfer portal ranks. But the 2026 class is not a terrible class. It's a good building class, in my opinion. But they need some more superstars to supplement off that if they can find them out there. Maybe they need to offer earlier. That's something that I have agreed with a lot of the player or fans, is you'll see a lot of our rivals have already offered someone many months earlier, or maybe even years earlier. And then finally Clemson gets around to it. Dragging their feet, even with like Antonio Williams. You know, Antonio Williams, they dragged their feet on him for months and months and months. Aggressiveness needs to, you can still be aggressive and be selective. That's my thought on it. And whatever they do, they need to sit down this offseason and figure it out, because it's not all transfer portal that needs to be adjusted. It's also high school recruiting as well. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. Tomorrow's episode, we're going to continue to talk about Clemson's offseason. I want to get into this bowl matchup in the Pinstripe Bowl in New York City. It'll be really exciting in Yankee Stadium. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Clemson so you get all the latest episodes. Did Locked On Clemson make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media and get a free month of our new Everydayer Club. Just tag your national Locked On Network network account on any social media platform, and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. And for those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is the Locked On College Football channel. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.